24th April 2020, the centenary of the Mother's final arrival. About her coming to Pondicherry and meeting Sri Aurobindo, the Mother has said that between the ages of 11 and 13, a series of psychic and spiritual experiences revealed to me not only the existence of God, but man's possibility of uniting with Him, of manifesting Him upon earth in a life divine. This, along with a practical discipline for its fulfillment, was given to me during my body's sleep by several teachers. Later on, as the interior and exterior development proceeded, the spiritual and psychic relation with one of these beings became more and more clear and frequent. And although I knew little of the Indian philosophies and religions at that time, I was led to call him Krishna. And henceforth I was aware that it was with him that the divine work was to be done. As soon as I saw Sri Aurobindo, I recognized in him the well-known being whom I used to call Krishna. She describes the meeting in more detail in one of her conversations. I had a series of visions. I knew nothing about India, nothing, just as most Europeans know. A country full of people with certain customs and religions, a confused and hazy history where a lot of extraordinary things are said to have happened. Well, in several of these visions, I saw Sri Aurobindo just as he looked physically, but glorified. That is, the same man I would see on my first visit, almost thin, with that golden bronze hue and rather sharp profile, an unruly beard and long hair, dressed in a dhoti with one end of it thrown over his shoulder, arms and chest bare and bare feet. At the time I thought it was vision attire. I had never seen Indians dressed in the Indian way. And in these visions, I did something I had never done physically. I prostrated before him in the Hindu manner. All this without any comprehension in the little brain. I really didn't know what I was doing or how I was doing it. Nothing at all. I did it. And at the same time, the outer being was asking, "What is all this?" But my impression was that it was premonitory, that one day something like it would happen. And it remained in the background of the consciousness, not active, but constantly present. I came here Something in me wanted to meet Sri Aurobindo all alone. He was living in the guest house. I climbed up the stairway and he was standing there waiting for me at the top of the stairs. Exactly my vision. Dressed the same way, in the same position, in profile, his head held high. He turned his head towards me, and I saw in his eyes that it was he. The two things clicked. The inner experience immediately became one with the outer experience, and there was a fusion, the decisive shock. The next day, Mother would write in her diary, peu importe qu'il y ait des milliers d'êtres plongés dans la plus épaisse ignorance. It matters little that there are thousands of beings plunged in the densest ignorance. He whom we saw yesterday is on earth. His presence is enough to prove that a day will come when darkness shall be transformed into light, and thy reign shall be indeed established upon earth. Here is a letter where Sri Aurobindo refers to his first meeting with the Mother. The Mother is not a disciple of Sri Aurobindo. She has had the same realization and experience as myself. When she was 12 or 13, every evening many teachers came to her and taught her various spiritual disciplines. Among them was a dark Asiatic figure. When we first met, she immediately recognized me as the dark Asiatic figure whom she used to see a long time ago. That she should come here and work with me for a common goal was, as it were, a divine dispensation. She has helped and is helping to give a concrete form to my yoga. This would not have been possible without her cooperation. The Mother spent over 10 months in Pondicherry. She left for France a day after her 37th birthday on 22nd February 1915. From France, she traveled to Japan, where she spent nearly 4 years. In one of her experiences there, she addressed the Lord and asked, "Now tell me, what must I do?" Suddenly, everything in me became still. The whole external being was completely immobilized, and I had a vision of the Supreme, more beautiful than that of the Gita. And this vision literally gathered me into its arms. It turned towards the west, towards India, and offered me. And there, at the other end, I saw Sri Aurobindo. It was as if this immensity had reduced itself to a rather gigantic being who lifted me up like a wisp of straw and offered me. The next day, we began preparing to return to India. It was after this vision, when I returned from Japan, that this meeting with Sri Aurobindo took place, along with the certainty that the mission would be accomplished. On 24th April, as the boat neared Pondicherry, Mother had an experience which she recalled 30 years later. I was on the boat at sea, not expecting anything, when all of a sudden, abruptly, about 2 nautical miles from Pondicherry, the quality, I may even say the physical quality of the atmosphere, of the air, changed so much that I knew we were entering the aura of Sri Aurobindo. It was a physical experience. I had been for a very long time and continuously in spiritual contact with the atmosphere of Sri Aurobindo, but I had never thought of the possibility of a modification in the physical air, and I was not expecting it in the least. And it was this that gave the whole value to the experience, which came like that quite suddenly, just as when one enters a place with another temperature or another altitude. Mother speaks about meeting Sri Aurobindo on her second and final arrival in Pondicherry, also referring to the first meeting. Only after a series of experiences, a 10-month sojourn in Pondicherry, 5 years of separation, then the return to Pondicherry and the meeting in the same house and in the same way, did the end of the vision occur. I was just beside him. My head wasn't exactly on his shoulder, but where his shoulder was. I don't know how to explain it. Physically, there was hardly any contact. We were standing side by side like that, gazing out through the open window, and then together at exactly the same moment, we felt, now the realization will be accomplished, that the seal was set and the realization would be accomplished. I felt the thing descending massively within me, with the same certainty I had felt in my vision. And 1920 marked the beginning of full development, not spiritual development. That had been going on from the very start, but action. The action with Sri Aurobindo, that was clearly from 1920 on. I had met Sri Aurobindo earlier, but it really began in 1920. The mother once explained the significance of 24th April. The anniversary of my return to Pondicherry, which was the tangible sign of the sure victory over the adverse forces. Let us remember what Sri Aurobindo said about the mother's victory. The mother's victory is essentially the victory of each sadhak over himself. It can only be then that any external form of work can come to harmonious perfection. The mother was once asked, "How should I prepare myself for the April 24th Darshan?" She replied, "Look attentively into yourself to find out what for you is the most important thing, the thing you feel that you couldn't do without." It is an interesting discovery. Nalinida recalls that in the beginning, Sri Aurobindo would refer to the mother quite distinctly as Mira. No one knows for certain on which particular date, at what auspicious moment, the word mother was uttered by the lips of Sri Aurobindo. But that was a divine moment in unrecorded time, a moment of destiny in the history of man and earth. For it was at this supreme moment that the mother was established on this material earth in the external consciousness. We end with a few letters of Sri Aurobindo on the mother. Here is a message put up in the dining room on 28th March 1928. Always behave as if the mother was looking at you, because she is indeed always present. Question: does this mean that the mother knows all our insignificant thoughts at all times, or only when she concentrates? Answer: it is said that the mother is always present and looking at you. That does not mean that in her physical mind she is thinking of you always and seeing your thoughts. There is no need of that, since she is everywhere and acts everywhere out of her universal knowledge. Live always as if you were under the very eye of the Supreme and of the Divine Mother. Do nothing, try to think and feel nothing that would be unworthy of the Divine Presence. One can feel the Divine Consciousness impersonally. The Mother's presence is something more. One feels herself there, present within, or above, or enveloping one, or all these together. Question: can it happen that one who is open to Sri Aurobindo is not open to the Mother? Answer: If one is open to Sri Aurobindo and not to the Mother, it means that one is not really open to Sri Aurobindo. There is one force only, the Mother's force. Or if you like to put it like that, the Mother is Sri Aurobindo's force. The object is transformation, and the transformation can only be done by a force infinitely greater than your own. It can only be done by being truly like a child in the hands of the Divine Mother. Sadhak, if I cannot concentrate or meditate, I simply imagine myself lying eternally in the Mother's lap. Sri Aurobindo. This is the best possible kind of concentration.
Suprasannaam subhadanaam karunanadanijantaram sudhaplavitam bhuprishtharmadra gandhanulepanam dhyayenvakaranishtastham shvetalankarabhushitam त्रैलोक्य प्रणदाम देवादिभिरभीष्टतां वन्दे वन्दे वीरा